Another batch of classified records of the U.S. government have been found by President Joe Biden's legal team, according to reports, and this comes after the initial discovery of classified documents at his office in Washington last year. The discovery of unsecured documents is turning up the heat on the White House now. Reports say additional classified documents were found at a second location during searches that took place after lawyers found the first set of documents. It remains unclear at this point as to how many documents were in the second batch or what these documents were about. It's also not clear exactly where the new batch of materials was located. The White House has so far acknowledged the discovery of what it calls a small number of classified documents in a locked closet at a Washington think tank where Biden used to have an office. But the White House has refused to answer a number of critical questions here, citing an ongoing Department of Justice review. The White House press secretary faced some aggressive questioning over this issue as well.
Why was the public not informed while the White House prepared its PR response for 2 months?
Again, this was under review. This is under review by the Department of Justice. I'm not going to go beyond what the president shared yesterday.
Why didn't he or someone in the White House inform the American people when these documents were discovered on November 2nd? Did it have anything to do, because people are asking this part of it, did it have anything to do with the fact that the election was just a few days away?
Again, Ed, this is under review by the Department of Justice. It is literally under review right now. As I am talking to you, it is under review. So I'm not going to get beyond the process. I'm not going to get beyond what the president said.
Now, the discovery of the classified documents in Biden's former office in November set off alarm bells inside the White House, and only a small circle of advisors and lawyers were aware of the matter. An effort was launched to search other locations where documents from Biden's team as vice president may have been stored. Earlier on Tuesday, President Joe Biden said that he did not know that some classified documents had been taken to his private office after he left the vice presidency. He added that his attorneys did what they should have done once these documents were found. Now, the first set of documents were discovered on the 2nd of November, just 6 days before the midterm elections. But the president's attorneys publicly acknowledged the discovery only this week when news reports about this discovery broke out. The discovery of classified documents also spotlights the case against former President Donald Trump, who allegedly hoarded a huge number of documents at his Florida residence after leaving the White House in 2021. Trump has already attacked Biden over the issue, asking him, quoting here, "When is the FBI going to raid the many homes of Joe Biden, perhaps even the White House?" Although the Trump case is more serious, the discovery of classified records by Biden's aide seems to be embarrassing to a president who claims to have high ethical standards. For more on this, we're now being joined by author and political analyst Stephen Golub from California. Thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast. Another batch of classified documents found at President Joe Biden's legal team. So how do you assess the implications of this, as I mentioned, especially in light of the case against Donald Trump, who was allegedly holding on to a large number of state secrets and documents?
Yeah, this is a rather odd twist, isn't it? As a preliminary matter, I'll make a few distinctions between at least what we know so far, which is very little, about President Biden's documents and the situation with former President Trump, for which he's under he's under investigation that could lead to an indictment of him, that is former President Trump. One is that President Biden's lawyers found these and reportedly turned them over to the government promptly. Another is that, and that's as opposed to President Trump, who branch of the government or part of the government, the National Archives, was trying to get his documents from, and he refused for months and months and months. Then when he finally turned them over, he didn't turn over nearly the complete batch of them. Another big difference is that, at least as far as we know now, President Biden's documents had a classified designation that may not mean that they were so secret. In other words, some classified documents are available to tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people with various functions in the government. The term may not be as serious as the word itself means. Whereas what we know about President Trump's documents, the ones that he held on to, included documents about methods and sources of intelligence information, which could be very dangerous if it got out. It could put some of those sources of information in great danger. And there was at least one document that President Trump retained that was about a foreign nation's nuclear program and nuclear capabilities, which could, again, be very sensitive. Imagine if that document, and I'm only speculating here, no one is suggesting it was India's nuclear program, but imagine if it was about India's nuclear program, couple that with the fact that where the documents were found in former President Trump's country club, Mar-a-Lago, was a place that wasn't very secure at all, and where a Chinese businesswoman was found wandering around with electronic equipment and subsequently tried and jailed for that in 2019. So those are, two or three of the ways in which the situations differ very, very much, or at least as far as we know right now, because it is true that we don't know that much yet about the President Biden situation. They seem to differ very much.
Absolutely. Mr. Goel, thank you so much for highlighting these distinctions here. Now, the first set of documents was found a few days before the midterms. Official acknowledgement only came this week. There are still questions that remain unanswered. How do you reckon this will play out for President Joe Biden?
Well, I think a lot of us are interested in knowing that. They were found November 2nd, I believe. The election was a few days later. And why did it take 2 months for this information to come out? In your report, the questions sounded kind of hostile, but they were legitimate questions to be asking. It could be that the Justice Department has just been going through a process of reviewing them, trying to find out what else might be out there, etc. It could be that there's a legitimate process going on that accounts for a 2 months delay, but it is it is problematic for President Biden, and many people, including you folks and including folks on this side of the world, are very curious about what accounts for that delay.
Mr. Stephen Goel, thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast with your insights on this.
Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.